ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the United States Hobart Association Championship Mud Racing and Monster Truck Tour. I'm Brett Kebner, and along with my partner Jerry Devine, we'll be bringing you the action this time around from New England, the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. And Jerry, at this point in the season, we're getting close to that World Championship finale, and things are getting pretty interesting.
That's right. We're going into the final part of the season. These machines have been dialed in. They're ready to go. It's going to be an interesting night tonight.
That's true. You won't see too many machines getting used to new equipment. At this point, everybody knows the name of the game, and it's just a matter of what the track is going to be like here at the Centrum. A sold-out crowd is ready to begin action, and we'll kick things off with monster truck qualifying and mud racing. Stay with us.
Tonight's event being brought to you in part by Kicker, high-performance automotive speaker systems by Stillwater Designs. Coming up, the qualifying of the Monster Truck Division, Brett.
Well, it is a somewhat traditional short course here at the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. As you can see, a total of 75 feet of actual running distance, but again, with a very, very short run at a set of 5 crush cars in each lane, it's going to be mandatory that these drivers keep these things relatively low to the ground, or as we've seen before, Jerry, try to jump the entire distance from the first car to the finish line.
That's right. With a short course like this, there's very little chance for margin of error.
It's very true. Very, very little room to mess up in any way, shape, or form. And I should point out that this is a fairly narrow course. Here in qualifying, we'll be sending the machines one at a time. We never race side by side in U.S. Hobart Association competition qualifying. We save that for actual eliminations. The very first machine coming up is quite a stormer. In fact, Jerry, we've been following this truck since the very beginning of the year. The AM/PM Rocket with youngster Dale Boucher behind the wheel. This kid is tough.
First qualifier, the AM/PM Rocket Chevy. Here's the green flag.
It's true. As the first man out, even though the cars were crushed during preliminary runs, he's still obviously concerned about where that truck's going to go. And if you watch, the Chevrolet from Los Angeles comes down with one bounce and gets a little sideways there. He powers out of it. Dale Boucher goes 4.81 seconds over this 75-foot course. That'll set the pace for this man, Jerry.
And it's John Pyatt driving Bigfoot. Bigfoot still leading in the points series. And he hesitates a little bit, Brett.
I'll tell you, that is a fairly rare occurrence in monster truck racing, but it looked like the car, or the truck, I should say, actually came down between two cars, and they spread out. That occasionally happens sometimes, and it'll definitely cause even Bigfoot to lose traction for a minute. Great hit sideways in the air, but there you see the cars start to spread out from underneath him. He spins the tires trying to get traction where there really isn't any, and comes back out. The elapsed time for Bigfoot, 5.07 seconds.
Well, here's Jim Reese with the Ecology Eliminator, and we talked to him earlier about basic strategy.
Tonight, we're going to go out. Hopefully, we're going to use our horsepower to our best advantage, get a good light, come off the line real hard, stay low on the cars, and finish across the line first.
Well, Reese obviously carries through basically with his philosophy, although the starting line launch was fairly conservative. You can see that he never really nailed it off the starting line. I was actually concerned with the door opening on the last car here as he hits it. Believe it or not, that is a real 1958 Edsel we had in line tonight. Relatively rough landing, but Reese puts down a good one. 4.99 seconds. That'll put him number 2, Jerry.
Well, coming up next is Taurus with Jack Woolman, Granite City, Illinois, behind the controls. Taurus, of course, is Bigfoot's arch rival. Good run.
Unbelievable run. You called it right, Jerry. Taurus is the biggest threat to Bigfoot's current World Championship points lead. Look at the starting line launch. Watch Willman in the cockpit. Takes a huge hit, nearly clears all 5 cars. He lands in a nosedive, goes across the finish line at 4.62 seconds, number 1.
Well, coming up next from Woodstock, Illinois, Rob Fuchs with First Blood. We talked to Rob a little earlier about some changes he's made in his truck.
Well, actually, it's a whole new truck this year. The truck itself is working pretty good. That new motor, I've had a chronic head leak problem with it since the day it's been put in, and I've been fighting it all year, but so far I've actually been doing pretty good with it.
Up high and comes down hard.
to talk about aggressive. Rob Fuchs obviously has something to prove here tonight. That was a sky-high hit on the first launch. You can see the car or the truck leaving the starting line with an overabundance of power. When he hits the car, the rear tires are 5 feet off the ground. He takes it across the finish line at 6.10 seconds, putting her sideways. He spent a lot of time in the air on that one, Jerry. So, Jerry, here's how things will line up in the first round of competition. Jack Wilman's Taurus, as the low qualifier, will receive the bye run because we lost a lot of machines during qualifying preliminaries here. There's only 5 left running. In the rest of the ladder, it'll be the Ecology Eliminator of Jim Reese, who is third.
Rob Fuchs with the first blood.
The AMPM Rocket number 2 qualifier with Dale Boucher.
And John Pyant with Bigfoot.
And we should point out that Taurus and Bigfoot are on opposite sides of the elimination ladder. That could set up the classic Ford versus Chevy battle between the number 1 and number 2 points vehicles. In any case, stay with us because we've got more action coming up, this time from the U.S. Hot Rod Association Super Modified Mud Racers. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. We are ready to go mud racing on the U.S. Hot Rod Association National Championship Tour. And, Jerry, we've got the hitters here, including 2-time world champ Tom Martin.
They certainly are. And coming up next is the Mystic Warrior.
This is the quickest and fastest and highest points-rated Ford-powered machine in the sport of mud racing today. Matt Ward is the owner. He's 16 years old. He hires his father, Preston, to drive this 1930 Ford Wedge power with nitrous oxide injection.
Wow! And within inches of the disqualification line.
I'll tell you, Jerry, it is an amazing vehicle. There's no question. Look at this thing leave the starting line. Look how it torques to the right. From the brute torque of that machine off the line, the elapsed time, 2.05 seconds. It is already a track record scenario, Jerry. That's the quickest run we've ever had at the Centrum.
Well, here's Steve Onocio. Mad Jack, the name of his machine. Good run, but it looks like he might have had some problems.
If I had to guess, I'd almost want to say that was a transmission problem. The engine RPMs were up there, but the tires weren't moving very fast. There's something going away in the drivetrain. Jerry, we should point out your favorite saying, 80 feet to start and 80 feet to stop. How does that work?
Well, they've got 80 feet to start, and they have to shut down before the disqualification line, and that is a set of banners that is set at the end of the track.
And if you touch those banners, you are disqualified. Melvin Brown in the Blue Max nitrous oxide injected Chevrolet powered machine from Ohio is on the starting line.
It's a homemade machine. Melvin Brown doing the driving. This is a good machine. Good run.
No question. Great run on the brakes hard. Melvin stops it in time. Within the 80 feet distance. Look at the tires hooking up. I'll tell you what, there is nothing wrong with the mud on this course. 2.35 seconds for Melvin, as he actually got the front end airborne down there trying to stop it.
Wheel speed very important coming off the starting line. All right, this is Bad Habit. Byron Tinky, he's from way out in Iowa.
Stage, and here's the countdown.
Little 5-window coupe, sharp-looking machine. Wow, he means business.
On the brakes, he stops it in time. The brakes working very well on that machine. Look at the starting line launch, and look at the elapsed time, 1.99 seconds. Only the third machine through this pit. You can see the machine stops just about 6 or 7 feet from that disqualification line.
Physical therapy, Ed Noikos behind the controls. Rolling into the lights. A lot of horsepower being poured toward those drivetrains.
You can see Ed literally looking behind him in the cockpit to see what the problem was. It was apparently a rear end. You see the distance he traveled there. That's a tough break for Ed. He supports the U.S. Hot Rod Association at every event. He's an unsponsored independent. And he has, Jerry, what he likes to call a TV jinx. It seems that any time the ESPN cameras are on that truck, it breaks.
Well, it happened to him again tonight.
Next machine coming up is one of the strongest out of Atlanta, Georgia, Jody Kelly, the supercharged 1923 Ford T-Roadster called Stumpy's T.
Hold it, and he gets it stopped.
You can just see the release of pressure off those drivers when they realize they're not going to go out of bounds down there in the shutdown area. Great launch, exceptional elapsed time, 2.08 seconds. That will get him in the quick 4. Remember, the 4 quickest elapsed times come back to battle for the Grand Slam Championship, and Jody Kelly will be one of them at least right now.
Next racer pulling to the line is Risky Business. Greg Haskin doing the driving. Good straight run. He locks it up and power slides it to a stop.
This nitrous oxide injected big block Chevrolet machine is plenty strong. Haskin, a Vermont racer, got plenty of traction here. The elapsed time, 2.43 seconds, just misses qualifying for the quick four, Jerry.
Rolling to the line now, the Psychotic Beast, Mike Spina.
Well, earlier we had a chance to talk about Mike's strategy for tonight.
We changed the suspension just a little bit and gave it a little more gear, and hopefully she'll produce some real good ET.
Oh, a good run, and he slides to a stop.
A lot of steam coming off the exhaust headers as the water and mud hits those red-hot pipes. Spina takes the helmet off. He looks pretty happy. Watch the rear end dig in. There is an amazing amount of traction. And, Jerry, normally we see the track getting pretty slippery at this point. 2.22 seconds. Good run. That'll qualify him, in fact, in the number 4 spot. Like I said, the starting line doesn't appear to be getting slippery like it usually does.
It's holding up good. This is Total Obsession. Rolling to the line next. Driven by Steve Abbott. This driver's doing an amazing job of stopping the machines. Slams in, it stops it, and he gets it stopped without going over the line.
That really is amazing because he was all over down at the finish line. Look at him work that wheel. He was driving. 2.49 seconds won't be good enough for the New Hampshire driver. But like you said, Jerry, the fact that they are stopping so well, we haven't had a single disqualification yet. It's amazing.
American-made Jim Weber doing the driving.
Here's the national elapsed time record holder from Milwaukee, supercharged Chevrolet power.
This is a homemade machine.
Wow! On the brakes hard. He just stops in time. What a driving job by Jim Weber.
Look at that. Not but 12 inches away from going over that line.
If that, and Weber knows it was so close. Look at the launch, 2.05 seconds. Now watch him lock this thing up. All 4 wheels locked, sliding, trying to keep it away. He just stops in time. That's what mud racing is all about.
Well, here comes Old, all blown out.
We've already seen Steve Baldazar, the driver of this supercharged Ford-powered Ford Ranger, win once this year. And, of course, one of the biggest events so far this year, Jerry, in Tampa, Florida.
This is a crowd favorite.
One of the few times he gets a chance to run in front of his hometown crowd. He is a regular on the U.S. Hobbit Association Trail from Rhode Island. Now, what's going on here is apparently Baldazar was lined up on the starting line, and he elected to change where he lined up. He did not believe the traction was going to be as good as he thought in one area, but now it appears that he's pulling off. Baldazar, the winner from Tampa, is apparently broken and heading back to the pits, Jerry.
There's something going wrong. If we find out, we'll bring you that information. Well, coming to the line, our next racer, Granite Outlaw. Brian Craven doing the driving.
Interesting, both Brian and his wife alternate driving.
Good run.
He stops it in time. It's a rather unique machine using AMC power. It's not a Chevy or a Ford or a Chrysler. It's a Rambler motor. 2.42 seconds. Will not get him into the quick 4, however, after a good run, despite the low displacement in that engine. And, Jerry, we just received word from the pits that apparently it was lack of oil pressure for Baldazar that caused the all-blown-out machine to pull back.
Well, coming up next, looks like it's going to be our point leader.
I'll tell you what, you'll get a chance to see the 2-time world champion Tom Martin coming up next.
Stay with us.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts for the U.S. Hobbit Association Mud and Monster Truck Racing Tour. Jerry, it takes a 2.08 second run just to get in the quick 4 right now, and coming up is the 2-time world champ.
Competition is keen tonight, and here's Tom Martin, our current point leader. Mud Patrol, the name of his machine, nitrous oxide powered. You can see that the kill switch is being hooked on to the back, and Tom Martin getting ready to go.
That kill switch will automatically shut the engine down. In fact, all electrical systems on the car right at the 80-foot finish line. There's no chance of a stuck throttle because the engine is shut off without the driver even worrying about it. 541 cubic inches of nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected Chevrolet in the Mud Patrol 1932 Chevy. Martin, by the way, has a trick with that flashing light setup on the top of the car. That tells his father, the crew chief for this operation, that he's using the nitrous oxide on a run. If the lights are on, you know he's going for broke.
Now, he'll take his time.
Can he stop it?
Whoa! I don't believe it. Martin must have seen that he did just barely touch the banner. At least from our vantage point, it looked like he touched it. We're going to have to see that one again. Our event director, Bob Dwyer, talking things over with Tom. Tom apparently may or may not know what the deal is. He looks pretty disappointed. We're going to have to look at this one again to see if Tom Martin actually touched that banner. You see the Christmas tree starting system to your right. Martin cuts a phenomenal starting line reaction time and just heads for the hills, carrying the front wheels. He makes it through. Look at the time, 1.91 seconds, a new track record. Now watch. Just barely touching it, Jerry.
That's right. He knocked over the bale of hay. You can see that he did touch it.
Well, here's 12-year mud racing veteran Bill Bartlett, and he knew he was going to have to run right after Tom Martin when we started the event. We asked him what it was like.
Tom doesn't really bother me as much as being that far back in the pack. The starting line's probably going to be a little chewed up by then, and I'm going to have to probably really position myself in such a way where I don't get in everybody else's ruts.
Still takes it 2:05 to get the quick four.
Well, big-time problems for Bill Bartlett. He also looking behind him to see if the kill switch is still connected to the truck. It was, and that means he's got major driveline problems. Actually, it almost sounded like an electrical short, Jerry.
Well, it's going to go down the record books as a 4-foot run.
Like we said, a packed house here at the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. And right now on the starting line, the Gunsmoke Jeep of Rich Marcini. He's out of New Jersey.
This is a strong running machine. Rich puts the pedal down and gets through A-OK.
It almost sounded like the RPMs went way up down at the finish line, and that may indicate that the tires broke loose somewhere down on the course, apparently not getting the traction that he wanted. It's also getting darn close to that right side outer boundary marker. 2.72 seconds will not qualify him for the quick four. Like I said, it's a near record 2.08 bump spot. That's what it takes to become a member of the four-car shootout.
Well, out of the pits next is the carpetbagger, Dan Jordan, doing the driving.
This is a brand new machine making its debut here tonight.
Oh, and a good run.
I'll tell you what, the Schlott Brothers 4x4 sponsored Jeep Funny Car had a heck of a pass going. Jordan, like I said, making his debut in this machine tonight. Look at the traction off the starting line. It was hooked up. There is nothing wrong with this course. 2.25 seconds. Even as Bartlett just said a few minutes ago, the starting line is not getting chewed up like it normally would at some of these events.
He got a good stop right there. He really had it brought down to a stop way ahead of that DQ line.
For a 225, he stopped real early.
Under pressure, John Eppel doing the driving. Coming out of the pit area, puts his goggles down. Tree comes down. Good run. Whoa, but he gets it stopped.
That's what you got to do sometimes. If you think you're going to go out, just put it sideways. That'll give you another 8 or 6 feet of distance to stop in. This is one of the first times out with a supercharger for New Jersey racer Eppel, the Contents Under Pressure machine, one of its quickest runs ever. Look at it carrying the front wheels across the finish line. 2.27 seconds. Now the fun part, he just cranks that steering wheel. He's not going to go out of bounds if he can help it, and he stays in bounds.
Well, here's Dave Ray with Midnight Magic. Now, this is a brand new truck. We talked to him about it a little bit earlier.
Well, we put an alcohol-injected engine in it, and we've changed the whole chassis completely around, hopefully to get a lot more weight out of it, and hopefully we can make it bite a lot better.
And he gets it brought to a stop.
Another close one for Dave Ray, the very first U.S. Auto Association National Points Champion. This incredible new Ford on its maiden voyage looked good all the way down. Big block Ford power in this machine with fiberglass Ford Ranger body panels. 2.34 seconds. It won't be good enough to get him in, but it's been a long time since we saw a truck perform that well on its first run, Jerry.
This is brought down with maybe 4 or 5 feet to spare. All right, here comes Gold Fever, Ron Smith.
One of the wild men of the tour.
In the Gold Fever Fiat.
And he gets the Fiat stopped.
And Jerry, you could see how he got it stopped. He just flat shut the engine down before the finish line. Not much before the 80-foot mark, but probably an honest 5 feet. The supercharged, fuel-injected, Chevy-powered Fiat Topolino leaves the line with a lot of tire spin, probably the most we've seen so far. But boy, he picked it up in the mid-range, 2.15 seconds. There you see him lock up the tires and slide to a safe halt. The problem is that extra 5 feet probably kept him from qualifying. 2:15 won't get in.
Our next competitor will be still plumb crazy, Treg Baker doing the driving.
Out of the little town of Emmaus, Pennsylvania.
Good run.
But Baker using the same technique, shutting the engine off just a little before the finish line. He was worried that that shutdown area was getting sloppy and he wouldn't be able to stop it in time. This is a brand new engine for Treg, nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected Chevy engine that has been putting out a lot of power, but we'll have to wait for the elapsed time to see if he gets in. 2.08 seconds, the mark to beat to get into the quick four. An excellent starting line launch, very even on the chassis, but look at the numbers, 2.13 seconds. That misses getting in by 0.05 of a second.
They definitely are getting gun shy about that finish line. Rolling to the line next, Hellfire, Pat Riley doing the driving. Now listen to the RPMs of this engine when it goes down the track. It's got a distinctive sound. Whoa, could you hear that?
That is a supercharged small block Chevrolet, an honest 10,000 RPM for the old Hellfire machine, originally campaigned by Jose Souza from New England. Riley bought it, put a blown small block in it. He's driving in there. 2.38 seconds, though, won't be good enough to qualify. That means still, Jerry, that at this point, the bump spot for the Grand Slam Quick Four is one of the quickest ever, but here's a guy that could get in.
Rear engine dragster, Red Heat, Melvin Brown doing the driving. Tree comes down. And he makes it through all right, bumps to a stop.
I'll tell you what, Melvin Brown took a beating in the cockpit of that thing when it started bucking in the shutdown area. Event director Bob Dwyer asking him if he's seeing double. The machine leaves the starting line, but watch, the front end falls into ruts right there. And at that point, he's literally plowing the nose over the peak of that rut. Still an exceptional last time, 2:16. Look at him in the cockpit of this thing being slammed around. He misses making the field by 0.08 of a second. And you got to remember, that's one of the quickest cars in the sport. So this is the way it ends up with a Grand Slam shootout. Byron Tinky's Iowa-based supercharged Bad Habit, a 1.99 second run. Jim Weber, the national elapsed time record holder in the American-made supercharged Chevy 205, the quickest Ford in the business right now. The Ward family's Mystic Warrior at 205, and Jody Kelly and the Stumpy's T Roadster at 208. That is a field, Jerry.
Well, we've got lots more action coming up, so stay with us as we go into the Monster Truck first round. Welcome back to the Worcester Centrum.
Well, as we get ready for the first round of Monster Trucks, the big purple Chevrolet out of Granite City, Illinois of Jack Willman Taurus will receive a bye-run, a solo effort here into the second round of competition due to the odd number of vehicles in this battle. But, Jerry, this man has a lot of work cut out for him if he expects to change the World Points Championship.
Oh, and the competition is going to be great here tonight. The Monster Machines are ready to rock and roar.
We should point out that with 5 vehicles in this round of competition, the quickest, as far as the elapsed time is concerned, loser of this round will still get a chance to advance into the second round of competition. That will give us 4 vehicles in the semis and give our crowd a full show. But Willman is going to check out the track here.
Look at the intense look on his face. Wow! Came down hard.
I'll tell you, it was a pretty interesting situation where he took a nosedive into the last car. Willman has the power, if he so desired, to actually hit that first car and jump the entire course. Now, if there had been somebody in the other lane, I'm sure he would have been a little bit more aggressive. A somewhat conservative launch, but watch where this thing lands. Right in the last car. Still smooth in the cockpit, but like I said, you can bet if somebody's in the other lane, he'll be more aggressive, Jerry.
Oh, he's going to be ready for the next round. All right, our first pair coming up now. It's going to be First Blood. Rob Hughes from Woodstock, Illinois, behind the controls of First Blood. And look who he's going to go against. Jim Reese with the Ecology Eliminator, all the way from California.
Well, Reese's machine looked pretty strong in qualifying. We pointed out earlier that the reason the body is still in primer is because of a crash only a week ago. He had to do a tremendous amount of work to rebuild this truck to get here at the Centrum. But Rob Fuchs, as you pointed out, has had a few problems this year, Jerry.
Well, both of these drivers love to drive flat out. They hit that pedal and they are gone. Now let's watch this race. This ought to be a good one.
Crowd certainly likes the Ford versus Chevy aspect of it.
Look at this! Wow!
A come from behind win, and that's something you never see on a short course, Jerry. That is brute power that won that for Jim Reese in Ecology Eliminator. I'll tell you what, Conservative had nothing to do with this particular run. Lots of air, but watch this landing. Look at Reese in the cockpit getting thrown all over the place while trying to keep the truck straight. He locks up the brakes. I'll tell you, though, he came around a huge hole shot by Fuchs. Let's look at it again. Going into the first car, Fuchs had an honest 5 feet advantage, but watch the Chevrolet passing him in the air and then going into that wild, wild landing. That is amazing.
Sometimes when they come down like that, you can break the front suspension, but Reese was lucky.
That's true. Even though they're using a lot of surplus military parts, you can still break it.
Uh-oh, here comes Bigfoot. John Payant. The St. Louis Big Blue Ford truck is ready to do battle. And going up against him will be none other than the AM/PM rocket, again from California, Dale Boucher.
Boucher looked real strong in qualifying, considering the fact that he's relatively new to the National Event Tour, and he is touring on a full scale. He's going to a lot of cities. But, of course, John Payant knows that with Taurus in the next round, he's got to at least keep pace with the purple Chevrolet to keep the points lead. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Payant.
Well, for those of you that are at home that follow our ESPN shows, Dale Boucher and Jim Reese are definitely two drivers to keep your eye on in 1991.
It's very true. They've got the work cut out for him, especially Boucher here.
Get ready. Bigfoot wins this race.
Oh, it's close. Who won, Brett?
I have no idea who won that one. That was as close as you could possibly get, and I don't even think either driver has an idea of who won. Now, Boucher came from behind. It was John Payant getting the hole shot. He used the Jim Reese technique of a lot of power in the air and came right up with Bigfoot at the end. We'll have to take a look from a side shot again to see exactly who did win this one. All right, the hole shot goes to Payant. The finish line is about 3 feet from the end of the last car. Watch Boucher coming through the air. Boucher just gets him by a matter of inches, Jerry.
That's right. The official lieutenants giving us the word that the AM/PM rocket is the winner.
Man, that's got to make John Payant feel low, especially when he knew he had to keep pace with Taurus to keep that World Championship points lead. Boucher, on the other hand, scores one of the biggest possible upsets. And believe me, Jerry, it looks like that kind of action is going to be here all night long.
Stay with us. Coming up, the Monster Truck semifinals. We're back. And coming up is the first round of the Monster Machine.
Sorry. Gain tonight, Jack Wellman from Granite City, Illinois, the lightweight Taurus Chevrolet racer. If he can just go a few more rounds than Bigfoot, Jerry, he could change the current points lead.
He certainly could. This is what we call now a Monster Truck racer. Tube chassis, super suspension, easier on the driver. And he'll be going against Jim Reese, the Ecology Eliminator.
Reese's machine, as we pointed out, still in primer paint because of a crash just a week ago that nearly destroyed the machine. It's a miracle Reese is even here tonight, Jerry.
Very tough on these drivers. You watch real close, especially when they get toward the finish line. Did you see the way Jim Reese, he was way up there.
I'll tell you what, it looked like the Ecology Eliminator may have scored one of the biggest possible upsets. I can tell you that the Taurus Chevrolet of Willman actually lost the grill when it landed. It came down so hard. You want to talk about air. You want to talk about a serious side-by-side race. Watch this hit. Look how high this truck is in only a 75-foot course. Straight nosedive. Incredible bounce sideways. He manages to keep it somehow right side up. Absolutely incredible, and we've got the word, Jerry. It's official. The Ecology Eliminator wins and puts out Taurus in the very first round. Let's take another look at that from a side angle, Jerry. Look at the Ecology Eliminator passing Taurus in the air. Now watch the grill on the Taurus machine tears right out of the truck.
Unbelievable run, and these are two strong competitors, and a surprise with Taurus going out in the first run.
Now at this point, Jack Willman knows he did what he had to do in trying to beat the Ecology Eliminator. He did not do it, and that sets the stage for a chance for Bigfoot to extend the points lead.
AM/PM Rocket, Dale Boucher.
Youngster from California with the silver and orange Chevrolet checking his lineup against the cars, and there's his opponent waiting patiently.
That's right, Bigfoot, John Pyant behind the controls. The one to beat. Currently in the lead of the point standings, John Pyant, Bigfoot.
He knows he's against a new, relatively inexperienced competitor. He knows he can extend his points lead. The Bigfoot team's got to be feeling pretty confident.
The AM/PM Rocket does it.
I don't believe it. The second straight upset. The top 2 points leaders are out in the first round. Once again, Bigfoot left the starting line, but once again, a California Chevy driver passes him in the air. Look at this launch. Look at where the tires land. Literally a truck length past the finish line. A tremendous bounce. The kid from California beats the biggest names in monster trucks.
Well, these two drivers came 3,000 miles to compete, and they want to win.
Oh, what an upset. There you see Dale Boucher with event director Bob Dwyer talking about the condition of the course as they get ready to go into the final round. Let's look at this again. Bigfoot in the lead at the hit of the first cars. Look at the Chevy passing him in the air, and on us 5 feet higher than Bigfoot. Absolutely unbelievable upsets here.
Incredible runs by these machines, and our two top machines are out of tonight's competition.
So at the conclusion of the semifinals in the championship dash, it will be the 2 California Chevy drivers. Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator takes on the rookie Dale Boucher in the AM/PM Rocket. Plus, Jerry, we've got one of the quickest fields ever for a Grand Slam Super Modified Mud Racing shootout.
That's right. Rock and roaring action is the Fast Four comeback. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
We're back at the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts, and it's now time for the 4 quickest super modified mud racers to battle it out for the overall championship here at the U.S. Hobbit Association Mud Racing Battle. Here is the quickest and fastest Ford in U.S. Hobbit Association super modified mud racing, and the machine that qualified for this field in one of the top 4 spots. Preston Ward driving for his son, Matt Ward, in the Mystic Warrior nitrous oxide injected Ford powered 1932. There you see Matt, the young man who owns this machine, opening up the nitrous oxide system by turning it off.
That's right. That's just as simple as that. That's the way the system is pressurized.
And that little rev of the motor, by the way, did not involve Matt touching the throttle. That is simply him hitting the nitrous oxide button. That extra oxygen sends the RPM soaring. That's the power they get from that additive.
Rolling into the lights now. Here we go. This is the first of the Fast Four now.
Quickest elapsed time in this round between 4 machines will win the overall championship. Staging up into the electronic photocells.
Wow! He almost turned it right on its side from the power.
That thing is so incredible. Listen to the crowd. They cannot believe what they have seen. And you want to talk about torque? Look at this. The left front wheel, 4 feet in the air once. He gets out of the throttle, nails it again, and it comes up even higher. 2.12 seconds on one of the most astounding runs visually you'll ever see, Jerry.
That's probably a record for the U.S. Hot Rod Association for going through a mud on 2 wheels.
Unbelievable run. Here's Byron Tinkey from Iowa, a brand new supercharged engine for the first time ever for this driver in his 1932 Chevrolet Coupe. He's got to beat 2.12 seconds.
Byron Tinkey, he's a tough driver. Good run, and he gets it stopped.
He shut the engine off just before the finish line, and that may have been what gave him that extra cushion of stopping distance. He leaves the starting line again with very little tire spin, blowing the mud off the tires, cleaning out those grooves. Look at the ET, 1.97 seconds. Byron Tinky takes over the lead. He's looking at his first ever U.S. Harvard Association win with that kind of number.
Oh, he'd love it, too. Here's Jody Kelly rolling to the line with Stumpy's T.
Kelly put down a heck of a run during qualifying at 2.08. Unfortunately, that was the fourth fastest run of this Quick 4 program.
Jody Kelly, a respectable run.
A lot, and I mean a lot of tire spin off the starting line. I don't think the elapsed time is going to be anywhere near what he had hoped on that run. The supercharged Chevy-powered machine from Atlanta, watch. Yeah, even spinning sideways so much. The elapsed time, though, actually even better than he had in qualifying. A tremendous amount of top-end power, 2.06 seconds.
All right, our final competitor coming up. This will be the last chance for everybody to catch our leader, Jim Weber, with American Made.
This is the national elapsed time record holder for the 80-foot distance at 1.81 seconds. He has now got to go quicker than 197. Look at the ruts on that starting line. He's got his work cut out for him.
Good launch, and he gets it stopped.
Now it's just a matter of what the elapsed time clocks read. He had to go quicker than 197. Good launch, but one dead cylinder on the left side of the engine. 2.02 seconds for Jim Weber. He misses it by 0.05 of a second, and that means that Byron Tinky of Tiffin, Iowa, has just picked up his first ever U.S. Harvard Association national event super modified mud racing victory. There's a dejected Jim Weber losing out by 0.05 of a second, Jerry.
Well, that's racing.
Indeed it is. When we return, we'll have a chance to talk to winner Byron Tinky on his first ever championship victory, and we're looking at one of the great monster truck finals of this season. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Centrum, and Jerry, we've already determined a super modified mud racing winner. Now it's time to determine a monster truck racer, and you're the guy who's been advocating the increase in finalists that we've never seen before this season. This is one for you. We've got two guys that deserve to be there.
That's right, and it's anybody's race, so let's take a look. It's going to be Jim Reese with the Ecology Eliminator. He'll be on the side closest to us, and his competitor, the AM/PM Rocket, Dale Boucher.
Now, both of these guys had a rough road to the final round. Bigfoot and Taurus stood in their way. They each annihilated one of the top two machines in the sport. Now it's between these two drivers. I don't think you could really pick a favorite at this point, Jerry, if only because they've both been sailing.
Well, that's right, Brett. And this could make a difference in the points. So this race is going to be very important for both of these drivers.
Boucher has got to be thrilled just making it to this final round. The young driver from Los Angeles has never been in a U.S. Harvard Association National Championship finale like this, but we've seen Jim Reese do some mighty impressive things in the past.
The crowd here at the Centrum is ready for this one.
Drivers will fire them back up, and we get ready for the final round of day number 2 of the 1990 Internationals.
It's the AM/PM Rocket, Dale Boucher.
The kid comes through against one of the toughest machines in the business, and he is obviously elated. Getting out of the cockpit, stepping onto the tires, and saluting the crowd, I'm sure. What a job in a tough, tough final round. It looked like Reese left the starting line first again. We have seen a situation in 3 different races where the driver came from behind to win, even on a 75-foot course. Sideways airborne launch, coming down hard, but still under control. Dale Boucher did one heck of a job.
He surely did, and the crowd has loved this one.
The crowd has really been into this event, and rightfully so, with the incredibly close monster truck racing we've seen. Here we see Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator. He was an honest 4 or 5 feet ahead. Look at the Rocket pass him in the air. We've seen that happen so many times tonight. But indeed, the kid comes through with a come-from-behind charge to knock off Jim Reese. And again, Jerry, I want to point out that Jim Reese came back from a crash only 1 week earlier. It was amazing that he was here, let alone in the final round.
It's been a great night of racing.
Well, at the conclusion of one of the wildest U.S. Hot Rod Association mud racing and monster truck events we have seen in quite some time, Jerry Devine, we've got new winners everywhere here tonight.
We had a great event tonight, and these drivers are getting a little bit better each and every week.
Now, you were the guy at the very beginning of the 1990 season that insisted that we were going to see more new faces in the winner's circle throughout the year. To what do you attest these victories tonight?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. These drivers that in January were what you might call also runs are now getting into the winner's circle, and they're starting to knock off some of these big names.
In a big way. If nothing else, they're certainly learning from those big names. Down on the floor right now, we've got our winners, and I believe first man up is Byron Tinkey, who took his first ever national event win tonight. Byron, you had to be a little bit worried about the course tonight.
Well, I wasn't really worried about the track too much, but I was more worried I broke my shifter cable and we couldn't shift the car, so we had to just run one gear.
You've had problems with parts this year.
Yeah, we've been breaking things, seems like, from day one. Every time we turn around, we break something else, but we got it all back together, and we come back out, and we still won, so we're there, I guess.
Well, congratulations. Great job tonight.
All right, thanks a lot.
And in the monster truck division, here's Dale Boucher. Dale, this got to be your best win ever.
Yeah, I come in the first round and lost against Bigfoot, and I was fortunate enough to come back as fast loser and came back in with Bigfoot again and beat him.
Now, when you came back after running Bigfoot the first time, did you approach it differently than the first round?
Yeah, I came in there with a little bit more faith, I guess I should say, and I managed to guess and got the whole shot on him and beat him.
Now, you're driving one of the heaviest trucks in the sport. Do you consider the weight a disadvantage?
Well, it's a disadvantage due to I'm only running a gas motor, and most of these light trucks are running alcohol, which are a lot faster, and with the loose dirt on the starting line, it's kind of hard to get the truck going, but it hooked up tonight.
Now, with Bigfoot and Taurus both going out early, you have to be looking at this as an open door to win the World's Points Championship.
Well, with my sponsors, AM/PM, Goodyear, Warren, and Rancho, we got a good truck, and I want to start beating some of these alcohol motors and showing the gas can do it.
I'm sure you can. Congratulations, guy.
All right.
Pretty amazing young man. And I'll tell you what, the Super Modified Mud Racing point standings have shown very little change as far as the #1 spot is concerned. Tom Martin in the Mud Patrol looks destined for a third straight U.S. Hot Rod Association World Championship. But the Ward family from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, with their Ford-powered Mystic Warrior, that incredibly torquey Ford Coupe, is all the way up to #2 now, Jerry, and they may threaten him.
And the American Made takes #3 with Jim Weber behind the controls. #4, Gold Fever with Ron Smith. And Jody Kelly nails down the #5 spot with Stumpy's Tea.
Obviously, Weber and Jody Kelly have made major gains here this evening. But if you look at the second half of the top 10, Byron Tinkey in the Bad Habit may be 6th with his victory tonight, but he's only a few points away from even 3rd place. It's that tight. Then you see Melvin Brown's Red Heat Dragster moving up to #7. The Instant Tea of Chad Miller still hanging there at #8. The Blue Max of Melvin Brown is #9. He's got 2 vehicles in the top 10, and Clay Langley in the Nitro Express is 10th. Now, in the monster truck points, certainly we saw a scenario that could actually give us a major upset at the end of the season. Taurus did move into the #1 spot because of his better qualifying position over Bigfoot here tonight, Jerry.
That's right, and Bigfoot now slips into the #2 spot. First time we have ever seen that happen all season. Barefoot goes into the #3 spot now.
Four-wheel crazy Rob Morris, the Texas Ford driver, has held on to one of the top 4 spots this year, but so far he has not slipped as far as we've seen him right now into the #4 spot. The Ecology Eliminator team, Jim Reese, moves into #5 with his performance here tonight. Chuck Hawkins in Excalibur is 6th. The First Blood Ford of Rob Fuchs, based on his qualifying here tonight, moved into 7th. The High Voltage Jeep of Jeff Baintner is 8th, and our winner here tonight got himself a top 10 spot. You see the AM/PM Rocket in the #9 position. That will certainly put young Dale Boucher up in the top 10. Evil Force, Ray Perkowski, is in the #10 position. And, Jerry, so far, like you said, we have not seen Bigfoot fall from that lead. What do you think that means? Are we going to see something really radical happen here at the very end of the year?
Well, it could. You know, they've been having problems finding drivers that have the consistency that some of these other drivers have been having throughout the year. And of course, consistency in any motorsport is what really brings the winners.
No question. And John Pyatt has shown that he is a great driver, but that particular truck has actually had more parts problems this year than we've ever seen any of Bob Chandler's machines have.
That's right. And again, that is keeps them from that consistency that they need to get into that winner's circle.
Well, in the super modified mud racing standings, Tom Martin with the Mud Patrol is going to make himself a major name in the motorsports industry if he can pull off an unprecedented third straight super modified World Points Championship. We saw him absolutely dominate the last 2 years. Tonight was one of the very first times we've ever seen him actually disqualified in a run. What do you think is going to happen there? Can Martin run away with it?
I still think that Tom Martin is the one to look at, and I'm sure that all these other drivers are going to be chasing him because they're looking for that fault, that perhaps tonight we saw something that maybe he's starting to slip, but I doubt that very much.
It'll be interesting to see, especially at the next event when the U.S. Hobbit Association National Event Tour will be headed for Baltimore, Maryland. Until then, on behalf of myself, Brett Kepner, and Jerry Devine, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time. This has been an SRO Pace production in association with ESPN.